Welcome to the True Demon Lord show. I am the True Demon Lord Franco, and today we're going to be doing episode 1 of the True Demon Lord List Clinic. So, what is the List Clinic? I mean, it's in the name, right? So, this is where we're going to be taking some few viewer submitted lists, and we're going to be talking about them. We're going to be talking about what I like about the list, what I don't like, maybe some weaknesses of the list, and just generally how the lists, in my eyes, will work. I will also going to have some of the notes that the viewers left me, so the type of meta they may be in, or the type of list they are struggling into, and then the way they may play it, depending on again what the notes they left me, and then we're going to view it after I've made some changes to it. The idea is I'm not changing the list too much, because if I just changed it however I want, we'll end up with very similar lists for everyone, and we don't want that. So I'm trying to keep the theme. If there's units in there that they want to take, whether I like them or not, we're trying to keep the identity of the person who made the list in the list. All I'm doing is just changing some bits and pieces to maybe make it a bit better at scoring, or maybe to maximize the efficiency of certain units, etc., etc. So if you want to submit your list, if you want your list viewed in the list clinic, then all you have to do, send me a private message over either the True Demon Lord Facebook page or the True Demon Lord Instagram. You can also put it under the list clinic channel in the new True Demon Lord Discord page, so please check that out. And I will try and get back to you. But, I've had a pretty high surge for the list clinic list, so that's been quite amazing. So if I don't go back to you, then don't take that as me ignoring you. Just take that as me having a lot to sift through, and I will hopefully be able to get back to you. If not, you'll hopefully see your list in one of these videos. Bear in mind, I have had a few similar lists, something I don't really want to duplicate too much. I don't want to keep saturating each video with similar lists. So if you see a list that's very similar to yours, maybe take that on board and listen to some of those things. Maybe apply it to your own list, because I'm trying not to put in too many duplicates or very similar lists. But just because it may not be featured now doesn't mean it won't be featured sometime in the future. And as we also said, just because your list isn't in this one doesn't mean it won't be in the next video. I do plan on making this a regular series, so like I said, please send all your lists in. I appreciate it, and I will get to them as fast as I can. Also, please just leave a like and please leave a subscribe. The end of year goal in my first year was 500 subscribers. In less than 3 months, we have just hit 400 subscribers, which is absolutely amazing. And I thank you so much for everyone that supported me, subscribed, left me feedback, comments, etc., etc. It's really much appreciated. It takes a few seconds out of your time. It doesn't cost anything, and it really does help the channel out, so it would be very much appreciated if you haven't already. Please leave a like and subscribe, just so you can keep up to date with all this awesome demony content that we give you here on the True Demon Lord show. So let's get straight into it. We're going to start with Jason Gibbs' list. So I see this list as probably something we're going to see a lot of. Probably going to be something towards a standard demon list for a while. So we've got our 4 big monsters. We've got our Bloodthirster that has Argath. I mean, I don't like the Bloodthirster. Mine is cursed, and I took him on the weekend, and he continues to be cursed, so he ended up in the bin. But the Bloodthirster is decent. He's a nice big smashy monster. With Argath, he's always getting the +2 strength, +2 damage, +2 strength, +2 attacks now, because he's always in the shadows, which is really nice. The Great Unclean One with the Endless Gift, super solid. 4 up in 1, 4 up for no pain. T12, 20 wounds. The guy is a pain in the butt to kill. Really good to just anchor a point at the board, putting him on the objective, supporting him with some 6-inch deep strikes of things like Plague Bearers or Plague Drones, etc., etc. The Lord of Change with the Everstave, again, always in the shadow, so always getting a 6-inch range and +2 strength to his shooting attacks. He's just really good at giving you some support fire. He can definitely crack some transports with a good bit of shooting, or doing most of the transport and then picking off some other little bits of shooting, maybe from the Ground Clean One, or in other lists, Be'lakor, Shalaxi, etc. And yeah, he definitely helps this list out here a lot. We'll get into it in a minute why. Scarbrand, who is just a absolute sledgehammer of a unit. I love Scarbrand. Unlike the Bloodthirster, Scarbrand's never really let me down. And the guy is just an absolute tank. We have 2 units of 10 Bloodletters, which Jason likes. I'm not a massive fan of them. I ran them again on the weekend to test them out again. Still not a big fan of them. But you can definitely buff them up. Greater Demon support, Red Masters, and Blood Masters, which I genuinely think are like one of our best attachable characters. They definitely change your Bloodletter unit, but it is a lot to put into a 120 point unit that will go in, hopefully kill something, and if it doesn't, it dies. So, but yes, we have 2 units of 10 Bloodletters here. They work with the things like the Bloodthirst and the Scarbrand in this list. A unit of 2 Beasts and Nurgle. I like the beasts, they're quite tough. You've got to completely kill them, because if you don't, they go straight back up to 7 wounds. T9 with a 5-up invuln, not too shabby. I don't like the 2 beasts, but again, we'll get into that in a bit. 3 Blood Crushers. I would like a bigger unit of Blood Crushers, but I can get why maybe not. Especially now, struggling a bit more with the rotation. But Blood Crushers coming off of Bloodthirst or Scarbrand, pretty nice. The impact hits definitely help to shave a few wounds off or something. 3 Flamers are a pretty good drop-in unit to do an action. Fall back and shoot means you can't really tag them up. Less effective now, because before that meant they could fall back and still do like pseudo action, whereas now they can't. But pretty good Overwatch threat against things that are toughness 3, maybe even toughness 4. Fleshhounds, 5 Fleshhounds. I really like the Fleshhounds. Good for body blocking, cheap action doers, and little skirmisher units. And then a Soul Grinder of Slaanesh. So Slaanesh is interesting. I think Slaanesh is probably one of the best versions of the Soul Grinder. Anyone that's watched previous videos of mine will know I've got a mixed view on the Soul Grinder, as much as I think is good. Over here in the UK, bases and terrain really do ruin it. But I'm going to assume if people are including it in their lists, they are running it at the best of their ability, so it doesn't maybe have the base. Terrain is good for it, so we're just going to make the assumption there, in which case I think it's a good addition. So overall, I like this list. Like I said, I think it's going to be close to a standard demon list. The Bloodletters aren't too great. Like, I don't like them, but at the same time, Jason likes them. I can see why. They're good at dropping down, clearing an objective, or to contest it because of their OC, and do a bit of damage. With the Bloodthirst and Scarbrand around, you can definitely get a lot out of them. I think the 4 monster selection is a good selection. Bloodthirst and Scarbrand give you good punching power. The Lord of Change gives you a good fire base for the backfield. And the Great Unclean One is just an anchor to place on the side of the board and just kind of keep it safe while not really dying. And then we've got a good bit of action going, and then obviously the Soul Grinder as well comes in, does a good bit of work. So what have we changed? So we've kept the monsters exactly the same. I've even kept the Bloodletters in there because, like I said, I want to try and I don't want to change the identity of the list. I'm just trying to, change it up a little bit just to try and get a bit more out of it, trying to help the viewer to be able to make the most out of their list, whether it be for a little bit extra damage, just getting more out of the units, more efficiency, or whatever it is. So I don't want to change it up too much. So we haven't dropped the Bloodletters. We did take the unit of 2 beasts and split it into 2 ones. I'm not a fan of unit of 2 beasts. I don't think it does a lot. It then becomes harder to strike it down. 2 individual beasts are really easy to drop into little gaps, even if you have to use Denizens of the Warp. It definitely opens you up for scoring, letting you do things like establish locus, behind enemy lines, engage. Sabotage isn't bad, containment. So I think it just opens up a bit more scoring for you. We've got the 3 Blood Crushers. I was tempted to make him a unit of 10 by dropping unit of 6 by dropping 10 Bloodletters, but then we would have been 20 points down, and I didn't want to rack my brain too much trying to build up to the 2,000 points, because again, I feel like I'm changing the list a bit too much. So we've kept the 3 Blood Crushers. That's nice to just drop in with one of the big guys if you're going into something tough, using them to go in, take some mortals off it, and then the big guy can then finish it off. The Fleshhounds are still in there because the Fleshhounds are pretty good. We did change the Flamers into 3 Screamers. The reason for that is because we've got 2 beasts now, so they're good at dropping down. The Screamers give you some really nice speed, 14-inch movement, fly. So that I think that's really important to get to certain parts of the board, to be able to do actions, stuff like that. Their combat isn't terrible either. They hit on 4s, that's a downside, but 3 attack, strength, 6 minus 2 damage is actually not bad. I've had them do pretty good work into combat. When they hit, they can definitely do some work into Marines and those kind of equivalent bodies. And also pretty good into anything toughness 3. So I really like them. Good bit of speed. Being able to move over things, do a few mortals as well isn't terrible either. And then the Soul Grinder, we changed the Khorne. So as much as I think the shooting damage obviously is better from the Slaaneshi one, the Khorne one fits more in with the theme and the synergies in the list. So again, like we said, we're going to assume it's not on bases and stuff like that, because if it is on the base, it can't drop in a 6-inch deep strike bubble because their bases are just over 6 inches. But we're going to assume it's not on a base, hence why we're taking it here. And then he can then drop into the gap of the, into the 6-inch bubble of the Bloodthirster or Scarbrand. The Bloodthirster can give a +1 to hit in combat, which is pretty good. So it just keeps that synergies and the theme going there. So overall, this is the change that I would make. We haven't really done a lot. All we've done actual model wise is swap 3 Flamers up for 3 Screamers. We've split the Beast unit from a unit of 2 into 2 units of 1. And we've just changed the mark from Slanesh to Khorne on the Soul Grinder. So not really a lot investment wise to do there for Jason. Yeah, so overall, I like it. I think that's a nice little change. I think it's a good list that could definitely work. And I'm really interested to hear how you get on with it. So please let me know how it gets on. Maybe I think it will play a little bit better into the missions, and like I said, a little bit better synergy. So going into Graham Oram or Oram's list, we're gonna go Oram's list. That sounds a bit more better, or more normal. This was an interesting one. So when I read this, sorry, I've got the chat down here just so I can keep my eyes on the comments that the viewers made. So this was a really interesting list when I read this. I was looking at it going, it's a lot of stuff, and it's a really interesting list. So when Graham sent me this, he was telling me about, he plays into a lot of like the Orc Dread Mob, Bully Boys. I guess Bully Boys would probably be a little bit less now. I think this happened. Did this happen? This happened around the same time as Data Slate. It plays into a fair bit of Tau and Crons, Marines with a lot of Dread spam. So we're looking at probably more of a combat-based list. Therefore, he did say he has Be'lakor and you could always put Be'lakor in, but if looking at it, you've got quite a lot of combat opponents. Don't really think you need it. Like Tau is a bit annoying, but again, you said about the train being quite good, so you can kind of manipulate that to help you. So the list, we have the Winged Demon Prince that is Nurgle with the Endless Gift. That's a really interesting choice. Like, I guess points is points, so you didn't really have enough points to get the other guy in, but if you're going to see a Nurgle Prince with the Endless Gift, it would normally be the Foot one because he gets that one phase per game, 3-up Invuln. That mixed with a 4-up for no pain, and then reroll Invuln's 1 with against shooting attacks with Demonic Invulnerability. Basically makes him unkillable for a phase. The Winged one, I guess he can go in and do a bit of work while also being a bit tough, but obviously no shadows innately, so he will be on the 5-up for no pain unless he's in the shadows. We have Rotigus, who I rate highly. The half OC, half move aura is really good. +1 damage. I guess he synergizes with the Demon Prince a bit, which is quite nice. We have Scarbrand, like we said before. Scarbrand is an absolute beast. A Skullmaster, which is interesting. We've given him Argath, so he's getting an extra attack and an extra point of strength, or 2 extra attacks and 2 extra points of strength in the shadows. He's the guy that will touch your Blood Crushers, so spoiler alert, we're going to have some Blood Crushers soon. Celeste, which I think is a very interesting take. I'm not the biggest Celeste fan. Not in demons anyway, but she can definitely get the more out of demonettes. She just gives up a lot of points and assassinate, bring it down. That's the only problem. But she does get back up. She can do a little bit of damage. She's pretty decent overall. Just gives away too many points for my liking. 10 Bloodletters. There's Bloodletters again. A lot of people now really starting to take them. I can see why. There's not really much support for them, except they can come off a Scarbrand, which isn't terrible. Yeah, 2 units of Demonettes. I am not a big fan of Demonettes still. I think they're still too expensive. But, we have Celeste here. And Graham did say he really likes the Demonettes and he wants to run them. So again, like we said, we want to keep the viewers' wishes and their theme. So, we're gonna look at the Demonettes a bit more. 10 Plague Bearers. I really rate the Plague Bearers. I think that's a really good inclusion. I love them for the backfield, being able to sticky it, protect it for a couple of turns, then jump forward. They've got a really weird and interesting breakpoint with a T5-2 5-up Invuln, what some armies can struggle to deal with a bit. We've got a Beast Nurgle, good for dropping in, doing actions. 2 units to 3 Blood Crushers. So again, Graham's kind of trying to keep his options open. Problem is their damage is a bit naff, especially if you really under whiff on that on the impact hits, and even then, even if you roll a 1, it's only slightly under average or ish. So a Burning Chariot, which is just a very strange pick. I can see if you had a lot of shooting, Zinchi Soul Grinders or just Soul Grinders in general. Maybe some Lords of Change in that. The Burning Chariot, when it hits something, anything else that shoots at it for the rest of the turn ignores cover with shooting attacks, which is nice. Their shooting is okay. They have like a mini las cannon, like a 2d6 heavy flamer, but they're not great overall. Their combat's okay. They have some screamer attacks. 5 flesh hounds. We really rate the flesh hounds, like we've already said in the last one. And then 3 plague drones, which again, in a list where you've got a fair bit of Nurgle, they're pretty good. They're T8, 5 wounds, 5 up invuln, so they're a bit tough. 10-inch move, they are mounted. But when they hit something with their death's heads in the shooting phase, you pick one of the units they hit. And for the rest of the turn, any Nurgle unit that targets that unit can reroll wounds. So that's pretty good. It really does help Rotigus out a lot, which is quite nice. So overall, we've got a lot of stuff in here. But I am looking at this list and seeing some weaknesses. I think some of the battle line we've invested in isn't helping you too much. I think the Winged Nurgle Prince is a bit iffy. The Burning Chariot I don't think is doing a lot for you here. So let's go and have a look at some of the changes. We have dropped the Winged Nurgle Prince. Spoiler alert, we've put the Great Unclean one in because he's just better. He's not as fast. Damage wise, his damage isn't, so it's not 3 damage like the Demon Prince, and obviously that Demon Prince can get precision or lethal hits or sustained hits, and whereas the Great Unclean one can't. But it does give you the -1 toughness debuff, which is quite nice. Putting him in with Rotigus means you can kind of drop Rotigus around him or him around Rotigus, whichever way. And then it's, again, the Plague Drones will help buff you there as well with the reroll wounds. We've kept all the other characters the same, pretty much, I think. I don't think we've dropped any of the characters apart from swapping the Winged Prince into the Great Clean one. We kept the Skullmaster. We've kept Celeste because Graham wants to keep Demonettes. We've still got the 10 Bloodletters in. Again, we don't want to change it too much. They come in. They can come in off Scarbrand. Nice little bit of combat punch should they do their job. We've kept 10 of the Demonettes because, again, Graham wants to use the Demonettes, which is fine, which means I'll go with Celeste. Not bad to have the Dev wounds on 5s. Again, quite nice to shave the last wounds off of something or to really hit something hard. So then something like Scarbrand or Blood Crashers or even Rotigus and Great Uncleanness can go in and finish it off. And then we've added a second unit of Plague Bearers in because, again, we've got Rotigus, we've got the Great Unclean one, more options for them to drop down and come in and then just gum up some objectives. And overall, I just think Plague Bearers are our best battle line by a fair bit, and I really like them. We've added in another Beast of Nurgle because, again, they are just really solid. Your list has a lot of like Nurgle synergy in it, so that's why we went with a unit of beasts. You could take another unit of 5 flesh hounds should you want, but I felt like it needed like another dropping unit, which is why we got 2 beasts now. We've consolidated the 2 units of 3 blood crushers into 1 unit of 6 because, as much as yes, you've got some spread out, their damage is not very good. Being able to throw more dice at the impact hits means you're going to get a bit of a better result from it with the mortal wounds. And again, while their combat isn't the best, more attacks is always better, right? And again, they've got Scarbrand to come off should you need them. It also makes the most of the Skullmaster buff because he gives the Blood Crushers devastating wounds on their horns. So, and then obviously you can get more spread out. When his unit charges a unit, they take a battle shock test, and if they fail it, then they're battle shocked, which is pretty good. It allows you to reroll wounds from Drought of Terror, which is pretty nice. So I think you're going to get the more use out of 6 crushers rather than 3. And then obviously we've got the Flesh Hounds, we've got the Plague Drones, we dropped the Burning Chariot because I just don't think it's very good and it wasn't doing a lot for you in your list. So overall, again, we've kept mostly the same theme. We dropped 10 Demonettes and gained 10 Plague Bearers. I think that's just better for you overall. But you still got the 10 Demonettes with Celeste because I'm looking at this list and I see you're liking your characters. You want to have some character synergy in there. So Celeste with the Demonettes is still pretty decent character synergy. We've made the unit 6 Crushers, so now the Skullmaster's been a bit more effect in that unit. And we've got the Great Unclean one because he's just overall better than Demon Prince. So hopefully you like these changes. You can give them a try. Let us know how you get on with them. I really like this list. The more I'm looking at it, the more I'm like, oh, I wouldn't mind trying it. I knew this was going to happen. I knew I was going to do some of these list clinics and look at the list and go, I really like it. But I think this is a pretty decent change to this list. And then I think this is the last one. I'm pretty sure I'm only doing 3. So we've got Morgan Gladson's list. This is a list. Now, this was a list that definitely, I looked at it and was like, I want to do this. And I am doing something maybe not quite similar to it, but I think Slaanesh definitely has some play going into the new meta. So we have Be'lakor, who I still rate highly. Some people will tell you, nope, he is untakeable, you cannot take him. I think it's personal opinion. I genuinely do. I don't think there's right or wrong answer. It depends on your meta, the type of lists that are going to the event you're going to, etc., etc. I've ran him in a few practice games, and I have had one 5-round event with him. And if I didn't have him, I would have been in a lot more trouble than I was. So yeah, I still rate him highly. We've got a keeper with Soul Stealer, which means you get your wounds back when you kill models on a 3-up, because always in the shadow, so you always do it on a 3-up instead of a 4-up. Obviously, Aegis, you always set the Aegis on a keeper. 5 of no pain is always better than the dagger or the whip. Always, 100%. And then we have Shalaxi. I still love Shalaxi. I'm a big Shalaxi simp. I do think, in general lists, the 450 now hurts more because you want more scoring 60 to 80 point units, and she eats up a lot of those points. I still think you can take her, and I think in this specific type of list, and especially the version that I've kind of tweaked, I think she works immensely. But if you're going with a more mixed list, I can see why you wouldn't really want to take her anymore. I'm even on the fence. I'm starting to drop her now, but I still really like her. She still does what nothing else in the army does, and that's just absolutely kill most things she touches. Then we have the Mask, who I really, really rate. I've started taking her. I really like her. She's a lone op, so she can do some lone uppy things. She's very good for sabotage. She's very good for recover assets, stuff like that. But also she picks a enemy unit within 6 inches of her in the fight phase. Any Slaaneshi unit that targets that unit gets +1 to wound. Anytime that unit then makes a combat attack, they are -1 to wound. Now that -1 to wound isn't exclusive to just when they target Slaanesh units, that's always. Only the +1 to wound against it benefits Slaanesh units. But she's really good. She's got 6 attacks at strength 4, -1, 2 damage herself. She's actually not bad if you draw Assassinate and you've got a little character lying around, and maybe some of your other characters can't really get nearby. You just search her in, pop the precision core stratagem, and just eat out a little character. So, and she always advances charges or fallbacks and charges, so quite nice little speed there from her as well. We have 10 Demonettes. We are very Slaaneshi focused, so having those 10 Demonettes, I guess, isn't terrible. We've got 3 Nurglings, still nice to have. I don't think they're as necessary as you like, as they're definitely not necessary like they were anymore. But I still think they've got their uses. Good for blocking opponents' infiltrating units, as well as their scout moves and stuff like that. We have 3 Fiends. I really rate the Fiends now. I liked them before, but too expensive. At 105 for 3, I think they're definitely very good. I like them a lot. And 1 unit, I'm not. I would rather have more, but they are pretty decent. 2 Seeker Chariots, 65 points for a 14-inch moving T6/7 wound 4-up in 1 base. A pretty big base, same base as the Bloodthirster as well. So pretty good at move blocking. When they charge, they get anti-infantry 4+ in their combat attacks, which means not their 9 slash and claw attacks, which are dev wounds, will then proc on 4s, which is pretty nice. This only is into infantry, but still pretty nice into small, like, infiltrating units or straggler units doing actions and stuff like that. 5 Seekers, which give you obviously your 9-inch scout move. Pretty good for move blocking early on, and also just doing actions early on as well. And then 2 Slaaneshi Soul Grinders. I really like the Soul Grinders in a Slaanesh focus list. I think they're really good. And again, like we said, we're just going to assume they're being run at their best, no bases, good terrain, etc., etc. So this list is 20 points under, which does me in. I don't like that. But we're going to adjust it. And we did not do that much, right? We dropped 3 Fiends. As much as I love the Fiends, I think 1 unit of 3 Fiends you can get away with dropping. And we dropped 1 of the Seeker Chariots, and we just threw in another Soul Grinder. And that's 1990. Simple change. It may not seem great outright. It's like, oh, you've dropped 2 units for 1 Soul Grinder. But I think this list just wants to be a pain in the butt. This list just wants to be a stat check. It wants to throw itself forward. 3 Soul Grinders in your opponent's face, Shalaxi in your opponent's face, and a Keeper doing work around the edges is really good. Again, if we're not running them on bases, the Soul Grinders can drop within range of Shalaxi and the Keeper. and Be'lakor as well. Obviously, we can do chain off this. We can drop Be'lakor, we can drop Keeper or Shalaxi, then we can drop Soul Grinders. The 10 Demonettes gives you some like objective scoring, some good OC. The Seeker Chariot, a good bit of speed around. Seeker's a good bit of speed around. So this list just kind of wants to dart around the board, just kind of hit into things, smack it, move on. And this list is definitely a bit of a stat check. Keepers and Shalaxi are just super tough. Keepers are always -1 to hit. T10, 4 up in 1, 5 up for no pain. Shalaxi, again, T10, 4 up in 1, 5 up for no pain. She reduces the attacks of 1 inch she's in engagement range with by 1 on all their melee weapons, which is pretty nice. And Soul Grinders, I mean, they're T11, 14 wounds, a 3 up armor, and a 4 up invuln, so they're not exactly, pushover either. And you've got Be'lakor to keep it safe from shooting should you run into any heavy shooting lists. And then also, again, using him, you've got 3 points of like shadow bubbles like rocking around, so you can kind of have your 3 monsters in separate spots with a Soul Grinder each dropping within range, which is quite nice. So overall, I really like this list. If we could run Soul Grinders over here, if we didn't have to run them on bases, if the terrain wasn't as restricting for them, I would definitely see myself running them. I just can't justify them on the bases, which is sad. But overall, I really like this list, and it's again, this is the list I was looking at when I was doing this, and I was like, oh, I would love to run this. So that's it. That's the first list clinic. Hopefully, all 3 of you that had your list talked about can take something from it, even if you maybe then tweak off what I've said. But hopefully, if you run the versions that I've built up or kind of tweaked around with, I want to hear how they get on. If you're running a list similar to that, then hopefully you can take some stuff from that as well. And like I said, if you would like your list to be featured on this list clinic, just send a message to either the Facebook or the Instagram for True Demon Lord, or under the list clinic channel on the True Demon Lord Discord. Leave your comments down below as well. I'm not really going to look at lists in the comment section, but maybe some changes that you would have made to the list, whether you agree or disagree with any changes I've made. Always up for the debate. It's always good for us to just learn from. So again, a like and subscribe is very much appreciated. It helps a lot, and it doesn't take a lot of time to do, and it is free. So I hope you enjoyed this video. What else do we have coming up? We have many things coming up. The True Demon Lord podcast will be starting within the next week to 2 weeks, where you're going to see me and 2 special co-hosts, where we just have a monthly, talk shit about demons, and just having a good time, and hopefully helping everyone out, just talking about different subjects that are hot at the moment. So yeah, just check out the Facebook, the Instagram page, and the Discord, the True Demon Lord Discord. I will leave links to all below in the description. Give them all a check out. Come join the community, and it will be amazing. So thank you for tuning in, and I'll catch you all in the next one.